Hi, friends. Today, we're talking about the Dark Eldar. Oh, wait, hold on a second.
Classic. I
There
love the
we
video
go.
editing.
But yeah, today, we're talking about one of the most, if not the most, depraved elves you'll ever find on these shelves. They're also some of the most elite fighters and the most advanced factions in
I
the
like his
entire
art.
setting. So, if you like incredibly super edgy, horny elves, then snuggle into
Oh.
your crazy ass skin blanket, grab your cup of evil juice, and let's get into it. Actually, a bad choice of words for these guys, but anyways.
Let's
The
get
Dark
into
Eldar were
it.
formed with the fall of the Eldar Empire. As the Eldar were devoured by
Slaanesh.
Slaanesh,
Oh,
only a
gosh.
few sects of the Eldar were able to survive. One of which were these evil little guys, the Dark Eldar.
I love the
The Dark
Exodites there.
Eldar survived the Cataclysm, not by avoiding the gross degenerate ways of the Eldar, but by being such degenerates that they made their own city in the Webway to be even more degenerate. They dodged the biggest evil-ass god bullet of all time and were
Yep.
shielded from Slaanesh in the Webway. And seeing how the centuries of depraved decadence and degenerate debauchery of the Eldar had caused the birth of a literal god of excess and brought ruin to their great empire in a mere moment, the Dark Eldar took a deep look at themselves, rethought their life choices,
And kept going.
and took a turn for the better, leading a life of altruism and good clean living as they became shining beacons of goodness in the grim darkness of the far future. Nah, just kidding. They made like a prank YouTuber, looked at the consequences, and said, want to see me do it again? And they did the same exact horrible shit that brought ruin to
do
their
that,
entire
chat.
species. In fact, they arguably doubled down since even in the Webway, the Dark Eldar souls were still getting eaten by Slaanesh. But they realized that they could refill their souls in a way by doing acts of evil and absorbing the torments of others, which, luckily for them, was already their favorite pastime.
So Slaanesh is getting like free refills. Good for Slaanesh.
So, I guess it's true what they say. Life lessons are for losers. But, sage wisdom aside, the Dark Eldar are in a way getting punished for their evil doings as they are still constantly feeding Slaanesh and empowering the Dark Prince. They're just acting like self-refilling, bottomless big gulps. So, they're caught up
Dude, I didn't say they were big gulps, but I... See?
in an endless cycle of degeneracy, which is fitting for the addiction allegory of Slaanesh. Plus, in a way, they kind of inherited the thirst of Slaanesh, which fits very well thematically. But yeah, the Dark Eldar survival literally hinges on inflicting pain and torment on others, and let me tell you, they ain't complaining. The Dark
No.
Eldar might straight up be the most evil faction in the game. At least some
yes.
other factions have flimsy delusions justifying their cruelty. The Dark Eldar, they just kind of really like it. So, in current times,
The Dark Eldar are canonically said to not see their soul soaking as a true necessity for survival. They literally just like doing it. They could also presumably use spirit stones like craft worlders. Oh, interesting.
the Dark Eldar have only become more and more depraved. They have a culture of treachery, sadism, narcissism, cruelty, and compassion of any kind is literally stigmatized.
Yeah.
They primarily live in the insano, massive city of Kamara, deep, deep in the Webway. Their capital of Kamara is a conglomerate
This almost got past me. I almost didn't notice.
of all Dark Eldar sectors and cities linked by Webway portals and is said to be the size of a solar system. But thanks to silly Webway magic, its true size is immeasurable and incomprehensibly huge.
It's
In
big.
Kamara, the Dark Eldar's culture of sadistic villainy festers. And if Obi-Wan thought that Mos Eisley's jizz and zany aliens made it the worst hive of scum and villainy, well, I'd sure hate for him to see the jizz of Kamara's aliens.
Ooh.
The city is almost exclusively inhabited by evil-ass murderers, slavers, general crazies, and perhaps scariest of all, mega rich people. Dark Eldar society has many classes from the abused and miserable slaves to the opulent and oppressive nobles. But surprisingly, for such an evil-ass society, there is a decent amount of upward mobility between classes, at least for those who could kick ass. Valued above
Okay.
all in Dark Elder society is combat prowess. The Dark Eldar are even more naturally athletic than the already impressive Eldar. So, of course, they're
I didn't know
inhumanly
that.
fast, perceptive, cunning, and strong, in addition to being sadistic and vicious. Their reflexes are so great they're said to be able to dodge las shots, which, depending on how you choose to accept las guns as functioning, can range from
Oh, wow.
nutty to faster than light and possibly super nutty. However, to be fair, there is a strong argument that their perception helps them recognize a lasgun about to fire and they dodge that, so they don't necessarily have to be faster than
Okay,
light,
fair enough,
even with
fair
a
enough.
literal laser lasgun. But also, that would still be incredibly nutty, so I guess the point is I said nutty too many times and I'm gonna stop now. Anyways though, Dark Eldar skin is also said to be almost translucent. However,
It's because they're like VTubers. No direct sunlight.
human skin is translucent, so this leads me to believe that Dark Elder have some kind of freakish opaque skin. Ugh. Another quirk they have to differ from their craft-world cousins is that they basically have no psychers, as their psychic abilities were depleted from their souls constantly being sipped on, and using psyker powers would also risk drawing the ire of Slanesh. But that's hardly a problem, as they have some of the most advanced weapons in the entire setting, since Eldar tech is just generally insane. Some standouts, though, are their dark light weapons, which shoot black hole energy or something, evil ass blades, which can cut through basically anything, crazy ass poisons, which can kill basically anything, and other evil, diabolical
Everything.
things. I
Destroys
bet.
everything.
But anyways, their emphasis on combat prowess means that even slaves can ascend to the highest classes of Eldar society if they're able to kill and maim their way there.
Even
For
as
example,
humans?
one of the best, if not the best, duelist in 40k, Lilith Hesperax, was once a mere gladiator slave, and currently she has
Okay.
a ton of influence
So they're talking about like gladiator slaves that are already Eldar / Druhkari. They're not talking about the other ones. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
as the leader of the strongest witch cult, the Cult of
And I knew that
Strife.
about Vect. Yes.
Which, pun intended, speaking of witch cults, let's talk about the military groups of the Dark Eldar. And since I already mentioned them, the witch cults are a female order of gladiators who dominate the pits of Kamara and are also mostly beautiful babes, which is surprisingly
can't fix
relevant to
them.
their fighting style.
You can't.
They revel in battle and do extravagant flourishes in battle in order to torment their foes. Their fights are so spectacular that the pain of their victims is able to replenish all of the spectators' souls.
Wow.
The witches often fight with very light armor, if any at all, in order to maximize their speed and agility. With that, they can let out a flurry of precise and deadly
That's
strikes
pretty
before
sick,
most
though.
enemies can even process what happened. In addition, they utilize a number of evil-ass poisons and wicked blades. And outside of Kamara, the witch cults utilize their skills from the pits to inflict torment on their enemies across the galaxy. Witch cults often conduct raids and are often hired by Dark Eldar forces for their martial talents. And then, next up, the Dark Eldar cabals are essentially crime syndicates and pirate bands, often led by the nobles of Kamara called Archons. These funky fellas are the most prominent sub-faction of the Dark Eldar, and they're the primary source of new slaves and materials as they
Yes.
venture into real space to conduct raids. The warriors of the Cabals are the Cabalite warriors, and are elite warriors who can equip themselves with a wide variety of weapons from the Dark Eldar's advanced
Big gun.
arsenal. While they're more heavily armored than the witches, they still value mobility and are relatively lightly armored. Their primary weapons are splinter rifles, which are kinda like Halo Needlers in that it shoots crystal shards. However, instead of homing and exploding, the splinter rifles shoot evil-ass crystals with evil-ass
Evil.
neurotoxins that induce an extremely
Everything is evil, 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 evil.
painful death in their targets. In addition, these rifles are often fitted with monomolecular blades to double as close-quarter weapons. And within their ranks, they're constantly plotting and training to overcome their superiors in order to climb the ranks through treachery and murder. So, it's essentially an army of Starscreams led by bigger
Yes.
Starscreams led by the Megatron. And that Megatron is the ultra
That's funny.
insano Lord Archon Astrobel Vect, who is one of the strongest and most influential dudes in the entire setting.
Yep.
he'll probably get his own video down the line, but some crazy things about him is he claims to have witnessed the fall of the Eldar, created Kamara himself, uses little soul-sucking Mr. Terrific balls in battle, and he rides a little party boat called the Dais of Destruction.
It's
but
pretty cool.
TLDR, he's an insano. And then finally, of the main three, there's the Homunculi Coven. These are perhaps
so
the most
gross.
depraved of the three, which is saying a lot. These guys are essentially armies of twisted mad scientists, and they're horrible flesh creations. They specialize in torture and are masters of biotechnology. They take slaves and warriors and IRL kitbash them into abominations,
Ew,
either to act as monstrous units of battle like the Racks and Grotesques, or just for sick kicks like old Talkin' Cherry over there. Hi, I'm Cherry. As in, like a chair, not the fruit. In addition, they're also able to mend grievous wounds and even revive other Dark Eldar through cloning and soul stuff. But along with their
Yes,
flesh
soul
abominations, the homunculi use indebted warriors that they brought back from the dead to achieve their sickening ends. And beyond the big three, there's a number of mercenaries and warrior cults. You got the coolest Dark Eldar ever, the Elite Incubi, and these dudes were founded by a former Striking Scorpion
Phoenix
Exarch,
Lord.
Auri, and are the greatest warriors of the Dark Eldar and some of the best, if not the best, in the entire galaxy. They are ultra deadly shock troops and duelists who have the most rigorous and grueling training of all Eldar. To even become an incubi, aspirants must single-handedly kill an elite aspect warrior.
Ooh.
And most importantly, they look sick as hell.
They do look cool.
Which, speaking of sick as hell, we have these scary-looking shift trees, the mandrakes. These dudes are not only scary cannibals, but they're also super cool as they have the power to hop dimensions and emerge from shadows to viciously kill their prey. Their origin is largely unknown, but they're some of the deadliest warriors of the Dark Eldar and highly sought-out assassins. In addition to their iconic glimmer steel blades, they can also channel stolen soul energy into blasts of freezing fire, just like Ultimate Big Chill. Also, these nuttos were actually able to kill Vex. However, it's kinda hinted that he may have let them or even hired them so that he could ascend to Dark Muse, but the lore is intentionally left kinda vague there. And beyond those two, there's a ton of other mercenaries and warriors that don't really need to be mentioned here. But most interesting to me are the funny snake dudes called the Slith.
Oh, what the heck?
And like the Craft Worlders, the Dark Eldar generally try to avoid large-scale combat and focus on lightning
Small
raids.
raids.
Their
Yep.
general combat doctrine is to deploy a ton of fast-moving grav vehicles and infantry. Incubi warriors will shoot hails of toxic shards, witches carve up their foes up close, and the homunculi have their abomination steam ham. Most Dark Eldar forces emphasize speed and evasiveness in order to minimize casualties. These raids strike fear in their foes, feeding the Dark Eldar souls as they also score valuable resources and slaves for further tormenting in Kamara. Some Dark Eldar warbands also seek out the strongest foes in the galaxy to face in battle or capture for their gladiatorial pits. And of course, for 40k, these lightning raids can often escalate into larger scale battles for cool artworks and such. Also, they've been known to help their Eldar cousins in times of dire need, but they're usually
Rare.
weird crazies who the Craft Worlders try to avoid.
I would
But
avoid
yeah,
them too.
that's the Dark Eldar. These fellas aren't really my favorite faction, as I usually don't enjoy the crazy depraved villainy of them as much as I like the more killy and spiteful villainy of something like the World Eaters or the Black Legion. I even like the more eldritch horror of the Necrons and Nits. And obviously I love the Orcs, of course, but the
Orcs.
Dark Eldar, they do certainly have some fun aspects. Specifically, I really like the Incubi, Witches, and Mandrakes. Plus, they look cool as hell. Honestly, aesthetically, they're just straight up one of my favorite
That's fair,
factions.
very pointy.
The body horror stuff isn't really my jam, but the sharp, literally and metaphorically edgy look of the Capelites and other warriors
Edgy.
is really cool to me. Also, space pirates are always a cool concept. But let me know what you thought about the Dark Eldar. Are they too edgy? Not edgy enough? Or do you just like hot babes? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and big thanks to the patrons who support the channel. If you want cool time-lapse drawings and other stuff, be sure to check it out. And if you're in the Kazragan tier, you'll get a cool KrakDuk sticker. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing
Nice.
to all your evil-ass degenerate elves. Hey guys, it's your favorite character, Cherry, again. Thanks for watching the video and whatnot, and I just hope that evil fucking vat-grown six-armed son of an artificially inseminated egg rat bastard turns me back into a person again one day. I don't really like being a chair, actually. It's not cherry fun. Oh.
It's not cherry fun. Don't send this video to me because I'm clearly not evil and I'm not an elf. Okay? You know?